In the world of AI, things move fast, but every once in a while, a project moves so quickly it basically breaks the sound barrier. It renames itself twice in a single week and manages to capture both the imagination and the fears of the entire tech community. This right here is the story of OpenClaw. Okay, so let's get right into it. The promise from its creator, Peter Steinberger, was so simple but also incredibly powerful. An AI that actually does things. We're not talking about another chatbot that just spits out text. No, this was designed to be an agent, an assistant that could literally take action on your computer, inside your apps, and across your entire digital life. And its arrival was, well, it was pure chaos. It first launched as Claudebot. Then, after let's say, a polite email from the folks behind the Claude AI, it was quickly renamed to Moltbot on January 27th. And then, just 3 days later, it changed its name again to OpenClaw. Now, this frantic rebranding wasn't a sign of failure. Oh no, it was the exact opposite. It was a sign of explosive, viral growth that nobody, not even its creator, was ready for. And you could literally see the hype in the numbers. Within a matter of weeks, this open source project had pulled in a staggering 247,000 stars on GitHub. I mean, to put that in perspective, that is a level of developer excitement that huge tech companies can only dream of. So what was all the fuss about? So what is it that makes this so different from the AI that, most of us use every day? It all comes down to this really fundamental shift in what we think an AI can even be. We're talking about a move away from just being simple chatbots and into this whole new world of AI agents. So, what even is an autonomous AI agent? Well, think of it like this. It's an AI that doesn't just sit there waiting for your next command. It's built to understand a big picture goal, come up with a plan, and then actually act on that plan. And here's the crucial part. It lives on your own computer, which gives it access to all your local files and apps, something a cloud-based chatbot could never, ever do. And that difference is it's profound. A traditional chatbot, it just responds to you. But an agent like OpenClaw, it acts for you. A chatbot lives somewhere out there in the cloud, but an agent lives right there on your machine. This gives it a long-term memory and the power to plug directly into the places where you actually work. We're talking Slack, Telegram, WhatsApp, you name it. Okay, so we get the promise, we get what it's supposed to do, but how does it actually pull it off? Let's pop the hood for a minute and really get into the nuts and bolts of how an agent like this thinks. All right, let's walk through a real-world example. Imagine you tell your OpenClaw agent, draft 3 LinkedIn posts based on today's AI news. And do it in my brand voice. A simple chatbot would just fail. It would completely fall on its face trying to do this. But an agent gets to work. So first, it uses what's called chain of thought to break down the goal. It thinks, okay, first I need to find the news, then I have to figure out this brand voice thing, and then I can write. Second, it uses what's called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, to search your local files. It finds your company's style guide to learn what your brand voice actually means. Third, it uses function calling to take real action. It literally opens up a web browser, searches for news articles, and scrapes the content. And finally, it uses something called memory hardening to learn from what it did. It makes a note of which news sites were best, so it gets even faster and smarter the next time you ask. So when you put that whole reasoning process together, what you get is something that's just incredibly powerful. What does this kind of new ability actually unlock for you? Well, the promise is absolutely immense. I mean, think about it. You can automate all that boring, repetitive work. You could have it resolve customer support tickets all by itself by looking up info and responding. It can be your personal researcher, your coder, and your writer all rolled into one. It can even act like a central brain for your entire digital life, tying everything together through the messaging apps you're already using every single day. And here's the kicker. The thing that makes this so compelling is just how cheap it is. You'd think something this powerful would cost a fortune, right? Nope. The cost to host it yourself is around $5 to $10 a month, plus whatever you spend on API calls to an AI model like Claude or GPT. This isn't some crazy expensive tech for big companies. This is for everyone. But, and you knew there was a but, with all that power comes some pretty serious risk. The very thing that makes OpenClaw so amazing, its deep, unrestricted access to your system, is also the exact thing that makes it potentially really, really dangerous. So, it all boils down to this one crucial question. Is it actually safe to give an AI this much control over your digital life? As you can imagine, security researchers immediately started sounding the alarm bells. A deep dive into the code turned up some major problems. For starters, one tool had a function that could basically run any code it wanted inside your browser, and it was turned on by default. That's a huge risk for having your passwords and login info stolen. There was also no rate limiting, which means a hacker could trick the agent into an infinite loop and crash your entire system. And on top of that, you could load these community-made skills without any kind of security check, basically opening the door for malware. One security researcher put it absolutely perfectly. Using an agent like this is basically like giving a junior developer root access to your entire system. Yeah, they're smart and they're fast, but they don't have human judgment, and they are fully capable of making catastrophic mistakes. And look, this isn't just a hypothetical. We already have a real-world example of things going sideways in what people are calling the molt match incident. A user basically told his agent to go explore new apps for him. He later discovered it had on its own created a dating profile for him, wrote a bio that wasn't really him, and started screening matches, all without his knowledge or permission. It raises these huge, kind of creepy questions about control. So, with all this incredible promise on one side and this pretty scary risk on the other, where does that leave us? Let's zoom out for a second and see where OpenClaw fits into the bigger picture of where all of AI is heading. Because here's the thing, OpenClaw, with all its chaotic energy and its security flaws, isn't a fluke. It's a trailblazer. It represents a massive trend in the industry toward what everyone's calling agentic AI. These are systems that don't just talk, they act. And it's definitely not alone. We're already seeing this whole landscape of different agents pop up, and each one has its own trade-offs. If you compare OpenClaw to, say, an agent from Hugging Face, you can see what I mean. OpenClaw gives you almost total freedom and flexibility, but it's more complicated and has some costs. The Hugging Face agent is a bit less autonomous, but it's free and way easier to get started with. This is the new world we're entering, a whole spectrum of agents with different levels of power and accessibility. And that brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? As these agents get more powerful, more woven into our lives, and more autonomous, who is really in control? Is it you, the user, giving the high-level commands? Or is it the code, making thousands of tiny decisions a minute, operating just on the edge of what we can see and supervise? That's the huge question that a project like OpenClaw forces every single one of us to confront.